Alrighty. Hello, sexy souls. Okay, so I have a weird different. Why has it got this weird halo? It's so pretty. Oh my god, I don't know what's going on. Okay, so it's gonna look. I don't. Is it not like? Doesn't it look a little bit weird? Like it's like. Ooh, I don't know. Hey. Okay, guys, I tried to pre-record this. Okay, so my setup is set for me to pre-record, right? And I've got a new one where I can see people talking. I've got the it's just a different setup. I'm using my professional camera, which for whatever reason, when I get onto YouTube, has this halo effect. I don't know why I'm doing that. Do I? Oh, guys, do not make fun of me. I just figured it out. Okay, hold on one second, guys. Apparently, there's a lot of. Hold on. It's all good. Hold on. I know. Oh, look it. It's because it had fingerprints all over the stupid thing. Good Lord, I swear. Alrighty. Thank you. Okay, so I started this, and then unfortunately my son decided, hey, oh, that reminds me, guys. I should be getting caught up on all the readings. I have like 3 left to do. And so, good Lord, I am loud. I apologize if I'm yelling into your ears and stuff like that, but I should be getting those taken care of, all done today. And just the only thing is you always got to give it time for the processing. It's the bane of my existence. I will be trying out like directly plugging into the router and seeing if that helps with the processing time, because I've been doing processing over Wi-Fi, which we know. So that'll be that should be done today. Yay! It's been a busy weekend. Okay, so today is about aspects of the self. I do have coffee. It's not a coffee and tarot. Just as a sweet little reminder of what aspects of the self are, because we are resurrecting this baby. I feel like it was like a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. Okay. And it was a really popular one. And it was very beneficial. You're going to have a lot of people, and I feel like it's a slight bit of a trend right now in the collective, the spiritual community. Let's put it that way, not collective, spiritual community, to be all like, well, once you get to a certain point, you don't really pay attention to masculine and feminine and blah, 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 blah kind of stuff. And, you know, I am respectfully going to call bullshit on that. Only because I feel like we don't really focus in on specific aspects per se, and use that type of archetype when we're discussing something spiritual, only because when we are in unity, everything is working in perfect harmony with one another. And when things are going so seamless, it almost melds into something where it's undiscernible which aspect is what. It's kind of like the synapses in the brain, where people sometimes think that they are thinking so many things at once, and in all reality is what they've discovered in researching the brain is that the synapses fire so rapidly that it seems as though we're thinking like just basic thoughts, right? Thinking da 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 da. That it appears as if we're thinking several different things at once. And that's really just because everything is working appropriately. What I always say is it's funny because for those where they feel like they've moved beyond the different aspects, they return so quickly when life isn't perfect and something else when there's a need to dissect through self-introspection to find out where stagnation, resistance, all those types of things exist. And that's the point of me doing the readings for aspects of the self, is to kind of like give those parts of ourselves that we don't always listen to, pay attention to, or hear, because when we are wrapped up in any form of stress, anxiety, chaos, frustration, like when there is resistance within our life and things are not running smoothly, sometimes it can just be one, we forget to kind of like, okay, let me figure out where this is coming from and like how to do that. And our human or ego or any certain other aspects will try to take over to try and like be the knight in shining armor to fix something really quickly, and we can just get wrapped up. Shit happens, guys. Shit happens. I don't care how much healing you have done in your life. I don't care where you're at on your spiritual journey. I don't care how long you've been on this spiritual journey. I don't care who you think your ancestors and deities are and blah, 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 blah. It does, here's the thing. Nobody's impervious to shit happening. I don't care how much you've healed. Nobody's impervious to it, okay? Shit happens no matter what. And nobody, I've got something. Nobody gets a free pass at the human experience. It is not all perfection. And there's all too many times when we have to really, like, a lot of times those resistance and things like that is where we are fragmented within the self and not working as a whole. Things are not working in unity. And so looking at the varying aspects when those moments occur, absolutely necessary. And I can't tell you how many times I have these exact same people who are like, well, I just believe in unity and it's all one, like I have seen tarot readers talk about this. And it's kind of like, until they go through some shit. And then it's like, well, I feel like this, like they start delving into the varying different aspects and archetypes and things like that. And it's kind of like, oh, okay. So you were above it, when life was smooth. And now all of a sudden you're back into it. When they incur, like, I don't know, it gives an air of like a sense of superiority to others. And there is no hierarchy in spirituality. But by all means, if you are not in a space where you're either receptive or you feel like there's a message from one aspect, like you have any aspects of the self that have a message for you that you're not hearing, because that's what it is. This is the inner teenager. This is the heretic whore. This is the child. This is the feminine. This is the masculine. This is the etheric self. This is the human. This is the ego. Like, this is where they get a platform. Those aspects get a platform to give you a message that you aren't receiving or not able to see. So if you feel like that's not you, by all means, if it doesn't align with you and it doesn't resonate, then obviously this is not your space. But we will not come up into these types of readings and act as if somehow we are superior, be condescending, or try to invalidate the messages that are coming through for people because you somehow just, that's not your thing and that's not what you do, right? And you don't believe, like the same people who say that they don't really do that are the ones that used to completely embrace it. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I'm great. I'm so happy that you are in a harmonious state. Flow is going good for you, but we will not bring that shit here. We will not bring it here. Okay. So kindly see your way out if you are within that space. Thank you so very much. All right. So now that I have that, we will be able to get back into aspects of the self and what the message is today. Okay. So as I said, I already started it. So my son was like walking back and forth in the living room and he had this drink, and I don't know if he put like metal in it. I thought he was stirring it at first because, like, good God, I was like oh, he's so loud. And I'm like, when I tell you it was echoing, and I was like, what is he doing? And then he's like by my door and it sounded like it was even louder and it just wouldn't go away. And so I said something to him. So for a good 15 minutes, like periodically, I'm like, Ashton, like, and I'm like, okay, I can't keep doing this. I had to cut it off and go in there. I'm like, dude, he had his freaking earbuds in so he couldn't hear shit. He was just walking around. Apparently it was ice in a metal cup. And I was like, it sounded like it was in the room with me. Ting, 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 ting. I was like, oh my God. So, all right. And he was like, oh, like he didn't even realize because he couldn't even hear the ice banging. So there you go. All righty. Just making sure I got okay. Let's see here. I'm going to take a look at the chat really quick. All right. All right. We're good. All right. So first and foremost, we have Keter. Just as a reminder, Keter is, I'm actually going to read this one particular one, and then we'll get into the others really quick, and then we're going to pull some cards. Okay. Yes, I do read, especially when it comes to these. This is from it's funny, I have a mixed deck, guys. I promise you, and I shuffled it like a wedding funny. It's a mixed deck, right? You can tell the different between Angelarium, Oracle of Emanations, and then the Masulia, Oracle of Souls. Yeah. So, and I usually, because to me, like there's certain decks I read from. Now I'm just going to read this particular card. I like the way that it was set up when I was reading it before. And so I'm just going to go over it and then we'll dive into the message. And Keter is about, this follows the tree of life, guys. Okay. So you're going to hear references to that as I read it really quick to you. Keter, the crown, spirituality. Are you ready? The first emanation, the first utterance, the font of energy through which Ein Sof emanates into the universe. The crown sits above the head and embodies that which is beyond our comprehension. One must envision Keter not as an object that can be perceived. So Keter, to me, is what we would consider the collective consciousness that makes up source, makes up the divine, makes up the universe, whatever term you want to use. And so therefore can't be quantified or objectified into some kind of like tangible thing. All right. So one must not envision Keter as an object that can be perceived, but as a light that is cast upon it. Keter's light is beyond knowability, a timeless expanse of pure consciousness. Like the collective of, and sometimes I am one who likens, oh my gosh, why am I blanking on the word? The Akashic Records. Good Lord. To me, they run the same. The Akashic Records is source, is the universe, it is where all experiences, understandings, knowings, evolutions are dumped into, where we all can benefit from and tap into a collective knowledge, pure consciousness, right? Only through respect for our own limitations do we begin to see the shadow of its nature, and not projecting some limitation that we have on the pure consciousness, okay? It is the dark orb beyond which lies the infinite. As the highest point on the tree, all continuums cascade downward from it. Keter stands in contrast to Malkuth, who rests at the very bottom of the tree. The span that lies between them measures the complete distance from the most spiritual to the most physical aspects of our existence, as above, so below. Journeying downward from this point, all other emanations become increasingly close to our present experience. Keter is the essence, the understanding, the divinity that's found in spiritual epiphanies, faith, downloads, humility. Okay. And it is the idea and understanding that no one person can quantify or understand completely what. There's no framework, no frame of reference within any of our existences. There's no religion, no true 100% I don't want to say understanding. It's like, it's a very intangible thing. And you only know that you have encountered it through in which the way something feels. When we're talking about alignment, when we're talking about frequency and vibrations and energy, and when you have gone through the healing and you begin to recognize the divine within, like it's an experience, not something tangible that we can look to. Basically what the cards have, we have the Angel of Mysteries and the Angel of Visions. It is the angel of mysteries, Raziel, talks about in this idea and notion mixed with the angel of visions, idea and notion that what we learn from and what comes to us is not always consistent. It's not always complete. It's the idea that sometimes we receive things in bits and pieces. It's the notion that of receiving things in certain points and not in others. And we all have the story of like having moments of clarity and moments of complete darkness and not understanding and feeling disconnected from spirit or from source, the pure consciousness, as a result. And it's really just, I said I wasn't going to really kind of like go into that, but I will at least read Raziel's I always say I'm going to make myself a little thing. So Raziel is like the speaker of truth. All knowledge is pressed within the binding of his book. He's the observer of all creation, of the ever diligent witness, forever transcribing the whole of creation. There's just certain things we simply cannot know, such as the precious narrative of life. We can know the parts of the play, but not the stories in. And it can get exceptionally frustrating. And sometimes we question and then shut off to and ignore the connection that we have with the etheric, with the divine within, when we don't get complete stories. Because we can have moments in life where things seem so clear, so precise, and it unfolds beautifully. And it gets even more frustrating for people who like align with the idea or notion of being a seer or a star seed, those who have or who tapped into their clairs, where you can read for others when you can't read for yourself. To know that connection still exists and it is free flowing, but that there are times when it is completely cut off to you, that it's not this consistent all like at your disposal all the time. You know what I mean? That there are limitations we hold within ourselves, okay, that we tend to project onto spirit and say, no, I don't understand. Like there's just certain things that can't come through, that can't be conceptualized by the human in our frame of reference. And then other things that, if revealed, would alter the state of a trajectory, a timeline, things like that. And we can get exceptionally frustrated and angry with the etheric aspect of ourselves. Our human can. When our human has gone through so much work to trust the soul, when our ego used to be the thing that would dictate so much in our life, and we allowed programming and past traumas and experiences and other people's influence to be that which led the way in which we made decisions and maneuvered right in life. And it took a lot, right, to kind of like get our human open to listening to the etheric aspect, to the divinity within, to our soul for guidance, and to follow that when there's no frame of reference, that sometimes what that guidance is saying or what it's bringing about, or what it infers to us is like even remotely safe or possible, or you know what I mean? So to get our ego, like our human had to really, really wrestle with our ego, because our ego is like, when I tell you, if you don't hear something, if you don't feel like you are connected and you don't understand something from a spiritual perspective about your trajectory, if you feel in the dark, like you're not hearing something, you feel disconnected. Ego, quicker than shit. Let me tell you, that motherfucker got an answer for everything. He will show the fuck up and tell us all kinds of stuff and add so many stories. And it's like, he always pretends like he's this white knight in shining armor, will come in and just kind of like save us, right? And so it gets really frustrating when we have to recognize and realize, okay, that not everything will come through to us, that we are not privy to absolutely everything, because then that takes away from the entire point of having a human experience. If it's all just told to us, if it's all just revealed, then where's the experience part of this? It's just a narration then. And so what we garner and gather from this existence is in the actual fucking experience of it. Okay? And it even says secrets and hidden endings keep the performance alight and dancing through the universe. And so I just wanted to make sure I touched on everything, because we're going to pull some. A lot of times what we receive then is meant to help the downloads that we do get, and the information and the visions that we do get, is meant to help keep propelling us forward. Keep us on some semblance of a path. But I keep getting there's this level of frustration with that. This desire to, if you're not going to tell me everything, then I'm just going to cut it off, right? Like, you can't ask me to have my human go through all this trouble and this struggle to get to the place of trusting my soul, my intuition, my connection, right? That with pure consciousness, only to not always be able to call on it. And so it's one of those things to be left in the dark, like the level of evolution that it took to get to that point, and then suddenly just being cut off like that. And it can feel that way. It feels intentional and spiteful and purposeful, and it's like targeted, and it feels like a betrayal at times, right? And so it's the notion that the visions are not meant to tell everything. They're meant to help guide us so that we can stay in the driver's seat as the creator in this co-creation, right? And Uriel over here, the angel of flame, is all about the rage that can take over as a result. To the point where we start to ignore particular aspects of ourselves. And I think this is the idea of someone's human and ego getting frustrated with the way that this works, and feeling abandoned at times by spirit or by your own spiritual self, by your own intuition, that it gives leeway for ego to kind of step in, right? And to revert to old patterning, and to then as a result cut completely off, like close down your crown, like not receive. When you feel cut off and shut off and blinded by everything, and you seek answers and you're not getting them, the level of confusion and mental gymnastics that we can start to do, and the rage, the chaos that can start to form and evolve internally to us, right? Can end up drowning out at times the way in which we feel. We always talk about this. When you're in that space, right? When that level of chaos starts to swirl internally, your ability to receive any level of vision or divination, signs, symbols, synchronicities, right, is exceptionally limited then. And it makes it all that much more difficult, right? When we're seeking some semblance of a guidance, some semblance of, okay, I understand that I don't know the entirety. I'm not really certain, but I need some level of communication and help me to navigate this. And when that flame is taking over our being, we're meant to get out of our head and drop into our body. Like, that's always the suggestion, is to kind of like get out of your head and get into your body. And your body will tell you through the way in which it feels, the way in which it responds, what is and isn't in alignment, directions to go, how to take, you know what I mean? Like, but it can, when that flame becomes so overwhelming, it can be difficult to even feel anything other than confusion, chaos, anger, rage, frustration. It can consume. And it's our responsibility to do what is necessary to manage that response, that internal response. Because if we don't, we won't hear when something does come through. This is Estabus, which is the angel of divination. I'm just going to read a little tiny piece from it, and then we're going to delve into the message regarding this, okay? The idea between Estabus is that you do not command what is foretold. And that's the frustrating part. That there is no obligation to the divulgence of any revelations to you. You do not have control over when you do and do not receive downloads or visions or synchronicities, any of that. And you can feel at times, your human feels at the mercy of when your intuition and divinity will choose to reveal something, right? Estabus reveals the ever-shifting rhythm of the skies and beckons us to observe the alignment of signs. When we get into an observer state, and instead of trying to force something, trying to make something, if you don't hear something, stop, pull back, observe, much like the Queen of Swords would, because there's going to be signs. When the internal reality is clouded and not discernible, because this level of flame almost makes us want to force something to happen. And they're saying you don't command that. A sign, a download, like an intuitive hit, like it just doesn't, like you aren't necessarily able to force it. You have to wait for it. You have to observe it and allow it to come to you. Okay. And when you do that, when you get in that state of observing the alignment of all the signs, that's when something like fate will start to form. Okay. And you'll become curious about the things that are being shown to you. And that's when your call to action is, not before, not trying to force something. Okay. That's, you wait for the revelation. You can't make it happen. And if you are in a space where you feel like all the work that was done to get yourself to a good, healthy place where you are open to receive this and open to trusting and having that faith, comes a lesson of understanding that it is not at your beck and call. And even those who state that they consistently have access to the Cashapp records or the pure consciousness, I challenge, because they are informed more of others than themselves. Like if anybody says that I always know in regards to themselves, I promise you that is a lie. I promise you. So let's get into this, because I feel like they're saying, I think the direction is, because it feels like there's this tug of war between one's own divine self, or if you want to call it your higher self, and the human. And feeling as if like I went through all of this in order to be in a space to trust, and then I don't receive messages. I'm being shunned. I'm being cut off. I'm being ignored. And like there's a desire to revert to old patterning, right? To revert to allowing the ego to kind of just insert itself and add stories as to why, and to be like, see, you shouldn't have, and like to feel as if like it was all for naught, and to get you back into chaos. And when you're in that state, when something does come through, when guidance does come through, when something shows up for you, when the signs, it's like you are meant to wait for the download. You can't make it. And there's some level of coming to terms with that for whoever this is for, and finding a way to be okay with and realize that more power you find yourself in a place of having more control and more power when you surrender to the observer mode, when things are not coming through, when you feel offline, when you feel not connected, when you're not receiving the guidance and you feel like you're in the dark and you feel like you're not getting the answers that you're seeking. That is not a time to force something. That is a time to sit still and wait in observance. Because if you are in this energy, you are highly probable to miss when that information comes through, when that call to do something hits, when all the synchronicities and messages come through, you'll miss it. And then you'll find yourself almost being in a perpetual state of frustration and being in the dark and being cut off because you can't manage to get out of that. Let's pull just a little bit of tarot to go along with this to see if there's anything specific they want to add. Sorry, I might be hitting the camera and things like that. Hey, Kelsey. Ooh, it's flipping, but whale poops. That's a lot. I don't know. Well, there's your secrecy. Not everything being revealed. Quiet strength. Quiet strength to me is the idea of staying out of the energy of the flame, of the fire, the raging fire within, the chaos, and stepping into the observer mode, right? It's the stopping the chatter, pulling back, quieting the self, and waiting. And it's like it takes a lot of strength for the other aspects to not step in, to take control, to force things, to have faith in your higher self, right? It is a strength that's cultivated. It's called the quiet strength because that's really what you have to do. You have to quiet the self in order to be able to receive. And be patient enough to wait for when that moment comes. Secrecy and refreshment. It gives me the sense of when something is not known, it will always be revealed. That refreshment is like the sense of coming online, like some sense of, how do I put this? It's like I don't know why I'm getting like a reset button. Like when something is not being shown to you, it's almost as if it is in the process of um, like a shift, a change happening, a reset that brings about a level of what is it? I'm wanting to pick a different word than refreshment. Although it's like the idea of anytime when something is not clear, resting in the notion that something will one be revealed, but also that there's a level of like regaining the connection, finding a way to be content with the unknown, and like resetting the self in that level of darkness. I know that sounds really weird. And it's a reminder that to stay in the energy of love is a choice. I just feel as though there have been plenty of rageful moments at the feeling of having your crown chakra blocked, taken off the line. I want some more on the refreshment. I feel like there's a message there. Talk to me about the secrecy and refreshment when that happens. I feel as though your human aspect really finds difficulty in the secrecy. And generally it's for the best. And that's where the disconnect between one's human and etheric higher self can come into play. That the human feel and the ego feels the only way which to stay safe is to be in control, and be in command and have everything at your disposal. And I think it's infuriating to someone's human or ego that this is your crown, your connection to spirit, to pure consciousness, is not something that you can control. It feels unsafe. And this is just another yet another lesson to learn. I know that's loud, sorry. Woo! How teachable are you? Mm-hmm. Wow, help from above. It's like a teachable moment in faith, in perseverance, in like your own strength to withstand the dark, to withstand flux, to withstand not being in control all the time. And that when you are comfortable with and know how to navigate and surrender to that, there is always something on the other side of it, some level of refreshment, some level of divine assistance, help, guidance that will come through. Anything else? I thought we were going to get a tarot, but I guess not. lot of times when things go radio silent, that's when the spirit is helping to teach us something. Stay strong. I'm telling you, do not fear the unknown. Know your power and love without condition. Because I feel something about this is rage and anger. And when it consumes you, it can definitely cut off your heart center. I don't know why this one wants to come through, but I feel as if when you allow rage to consume you, and it then becomes directed at spirit and things like that, it takes you out of this space of the energy of love for the self, and that's when you hit like a destructive pattern loop, and it takes a toll on you. What do you want to pull from this, and then we'll wrap it up? A sly and subtle approach. Remember that to me is like strategy and being meticulous. Your abilities will be enhanced. Ooh, your ability. I feel like and I think that's the whole point. How teachable are you? They're saying when you're offline, when you feel blocked, when you feel as if you don't have all the answers, when you feel like you're not, like the messages aren't cohesive and it's not coming through consistently, and you're left to kind of like navigate something through the dark, what you're really doing is sharpening your ability to receive those messages, because it requires you to quiet those other aspects of the self to allow that to come through, to be the observer and waiting for the message and being able to pick, like to hear it when and as it comes through. And they're like, this actually increases your discernment and increases your ability to receive these downloads, to receive your intuitive hits, to receive the guidance, to feel connected. You will be guided through darkness. Couldn't fucking make it. I swear to God. And this is a transformation. The snake is about shedding an old skin. It is a transformative period. And they're saying, how teachable are you? Are you open to the guidance? Or are you going to revert to old ways where your human and your ego step in and say, screw this shit? You know, you came this far to trusting your higher self, trusting your intuition, trusting spirit and the etheric and your connection with it. When you feel as if it goes offline, how quick are you? And it's like there's a lesson here also in that you will not 100% receive every single thing, because it completely is against the entire purpose of this, of having an experience. You lose the experience if you know the entirety of everything ahead of time. So look at these moments of disconnect, of feeling offline and blocked from spirit, and not receiving, feeling as if your crown is not coming through. Because one thing that you're going to do is sharpen the ability for messages to come to you in multiple different ways. Spirit will guide you. How open to you are figuring out all the different ways in which you can connect. The more faith and trust that you have in that, and the more you're able to recognize your power doesn't come from the all-encompassing flame that can consume, but when it is managed, like that's where your power comes from. Your power comes from not fearing and being able to maintain your state of love with the self and with all aspects, which is back full circle moment when you're in unity. Okay. To not divest, but to not divide and section off varying aspects, right? Because I feel like there is a desire to disconnect from your connection to source, pure consciousness. When this rage comes in because you feel offline. And it's like in any given moment where something tests, and I'm not saying spirit is one that's test, like intentionally doing a test. To me, a test is something where it just tests us because that's a trigger for us. That's something for us to work through. And so the idea is like, are you going to be quick to section off and divide, remove an aspect of the self and ignore an aspect of the self when how quick are you to do that? Because when you're divided within, well, I mean, that just reflects everything external, right? That's when you're not in your power. You cannot ostracize any aspect of the self. They all get a seat at the table, even if you feel frustrated by. So your job is to learn how to remain connected with all aspects of the self, despite the circumstances, and to navigate and increase your abilities through the observer mode. Spirit is always attempting to talk to you. Source is always available in some capacity. And even when messages are not completely clear, give it a moment, wait, and the rest of the information will come through. Okay? All right, that is that. I hope this message finds who is meant for. Everybody, I hope that you have a fantastic and wonderful day. I will be back on again tomorrow. I'm not sure which one we're going to do. We're going to wait and feel into it. And again, like I said, I will be finishing up the other readings for the other people. So, alrighty then. Hope everybody has a fantastic, wonderful day, and I will see you later this week.